Welcome officially, everybody. This is R. Christian Minson, Facebook Live every Friday, Breathwork edition. Today, talking about the 5 benefits of breathwork. I am the former director of breathwork at Rhythmia Life Advancement Center, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. I'm a former monk of 10 years of lifestyle with the Order of Paramahansa Yogananda back here in the background. Currently, I'm a spirit-based coach. I'm a speaker, author, certified transformational breath facilitator, and senior trainer with the Transformational Breath Foundation for the last 13 years. Basically, this makes me your catalyst for living an ever-evolving life of true happiness and well-being. So that's my mission here, and hopefully that's the wisdom that I bring to you will start to open you up to this evolving life of deeper and deeper happiness and well-being. So welcome everybody today. Great to have you on. Let's see some of the comments. Georgina saying love them both, Colorado and Hawaii. Tammy lives in Vancouver. Haven't joined before, but was at Gregg Braden's treat last year. Okay, great. And this is awesome because got some news there. And Nilufar, hi. Finally, I could be here when you're live. Beautiful. It's great to have you on live too. So welcome and continue to say what's up. So today we are looking at the topic, the 5 benefits of breathwork. What is breathwork and what are the benefits? Now, this was inspired by an interview that I had some time back by Allison Scher. Some of you may know Allison Scher from Elephant Journal. And if you want to dig deeper and recover that article and see what else I had to say, it's all on my breathflow.com page. Breathflow.com was my website, and the media page on breathflow.com will take you to not only that interview, but I've got half a dozen to a dozen interviews and different media things going on there. So check it out. A lot of interesting stuff. So why are we talking this today? Well, I want to show you something very fun and exciting. Let's see if I can get it up. This is the best way to do it. Breath work just hit the mainstream. Do you see this? Breathe with me, Barbie. Right down there. Oops. Breathe with me, Barbie. 5 guided meditations. So here we are. Barbie is now part of the Breathwork clan. And I'm not sure whether this is real or not, but regardless, breathwork has definitely stepped into much more prominence. I would say in large part due to Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. I want to give a shout out to Jerry Powell and Rhythmia in Costa Rica, where I came from, and I was working there for almost 3 years. Great place that holds breathwork in high prominence, and of course plant medicine is its main modality for taking you deeper, so definitely check that out. Gregg Braden, we were mentioning Gregg Braden in the comments, and I'd say Gregg Braden has been a great force in bringing breathwork to the masses as well. He enlisted me to offer breathwork to some of his events. We've worked together about 4 different events now, ranging from 160 people to 260 people. This is really, taking things to the next level from where it used to be, do a workshop, maybe 10 people, 20 people. Now, Rhythmia is regularly 80 people, comes in and gets to experience breathwork every week. Gregg Braden's events, as I said, 150 to 250 people. And I will be, so we were mentioning Gregg Braden's event, and I just got word that we unfortunately had to cancel the event in New Mexico this year There will be an event next year in New Mexico, March. It's first or second week in March. It's a 5-day event from cell to soul, and I will be there offering breathwork. So put that on your calendars. You can look up. I will soon have that up on my breathflow.com page on the events tab. All right, so, and then of course, I want to mention Judith Kravitz of the Transformational Breath. The school which I was trained in, she's been at it for 40 plus years, and has taken breathwork from very, very few people knowing about it to now it's one of the most prominent schools on the planet today. So kudos to all these people, Jerry, Gregg, and Judith, for bringing breathwork more into prominence. But why? Again, why is it so important? Well, let me ask you, do you lack any energy or vitality on a physical level? Do you suffer from poor sleep or any kind of chronic pain? Do you experience emotional upsets? The waves of emotions up and down without much emotional stability? Do you feel like you're carrying emotional baggage through life? Or do you react easily when confronted with things that trigger you? And or do you feel spiritually disconnected? Do you have any thought about, like, what is my purpose? What is the meaning to this all? Are you just looking for more pizzazz, more creative excitement in life? All these questions can be answered with breath work. Basically, life is a process of evolution that includes balancing these dimensions of our being: physical, emotional, and spiritual. And you've heard the advice, most likely, just breathe. When you're upset and your friend says just breathe, or you might even told your child or somebody, just breathe, just calm down. This is such a basic inherent part of our system that's why that advice is so right on the tip of our tongue. We have, in my estimation, all the tools necessary to balance our lives, and they're built into our system right here and now. I like to tell a story, sort of, when, let's just say, God, the creator of the universe, whatever you want to call it, him, her, whatever it is there thinking, well, I want to create beings in my image, which means I want to endow them with all the powers that I have. But I don't want to just hand it to them on a platter. I don't want to make it too easy for them. I want them to have to look for it. But I don't want to make it too hard either. How can I hide these powers so that they're easily findable? I got it. Right underneath their noses. And indeed, that's exactly what is going on, right? Our breath is essentially right underneath our noses. This is the access to all the powers that we have as creations of the divine power that started. All right, so let's just check in again. Denny says, hi, we met you in New Mexico with Gregg. Excellent. Glad to see a lot of Gregg Braden connections. Debbie Ballard, Hart. Tina, hello, Tina. And Tina was a Gregg Braden connection too, originally. Michelle Dixon, haha, Barbie, that is awesome. Tammy saying fantastic. And all right, so, and then David McAtee, hello, love your breathwork. What is your feeling of all the Zoom or online breathwork that's being offered? I feel you need to be there and help with releases and issues to come up. Yes, and that is in the works. And currently I do offer Zoom or online breathworks in a private session format, working on creating the group session format. So I think it's a powerful way to experience breathwork, especially in these times where we're not supposed to be physically close. All right, so David, how are you doing? Had great success at Ridley with the work. Beautiful, and welcome. So, so what is breath work? Breath work, what another name for breath work, generic name would be conscious breathing techniques. And I like this name because you can really break it down. Of course, breathing, we're talking about the act of breathing. Conscious, so conscious means awareness. So conscious breathing is not just breathing that we're doing without, while we're thinking about lunch or what's on TV. Conscious breathing is actually focusing on the process of breathing, being aware of it and keeping our mind and our consciousness with that breathing process. And of course, techniques, conscious breathing techniques. Techniques means specific forms of breathing, specific styles of breathing that are meant to produce specific results. Okay, so if you look at the history of breath work, I mean, it's been around since the dawn of man, essentially. There's ancient breath work, yoga, pranayama, qigong works with the breath. Sufis have certain breathing techniques, right up to modern day. And this is really my focus, is what I call the modern day wave of breathwork. Started about the 1970s with a man named Leonard Orr, and the style of rebirthing, of which came out rebirthing, then holotropic breath of Stanislav Grof, and transformational breath of Judith Kravitz, the school which I was brought up through. And there's new evolutions here, but this is basically the style of breathing that I'm talking about today. A conscious breathing technique, a technique of what I call full, free-flowing breath, a little bit of accelerated, gentle but full, relaxed and continuous flowing breath that can produce what we're going to get into now, the 5 benefits of breath work. So let's see, anybody else? All right, so what are the 5 benefits? Benefit number 1, physical energy and vitality. Okay, so here, let's think about it. Oxygen. Oxygen is our number 1 energy source. You ever think about that? We can live for 40 days without food. We can live for 4 or 5 days without water. We can live about 4 or 5 minutes without oxygen. It means we need it in abundance and we need it regularly. It's our number 1 energy source. Every cell in our body functions better when it's fully oxygenated. So as we bring more oxygen in, it's like putting more fuel in the system, turbocharging the system. So we will feel more energized, more alive, more focused. What's nice is it's kind of a relaxed energy at the same time. It's not the kind of energy you get from drinking a cup of coffee, that sort of caffeinated energy that then comes usually with a big crash. As I said, it's more of a relaxed energy. Oftentimes our sleep imbalances are improved when our cells are fully oxygenated. So by performing this technique, if you need energy, it will bring you energy. If you need more relaxation and better sleep, it will bring that. And I can testify that, dozens of my clients over the years have said, after they've gone through a breathwork technique, and especially those who've had sleeping issues, that they'll say, I had the best night of sleep that I've ever had after our session yesterday. So it definitely affects sleep. Pain relief too. So when we're experiencing chronic pain, getting in there, the oxygen in the cells helps the cells do what they do better. So if there's some kind of discordant energy in the body, if there's pain, if there's something that needs repairing, the cells now can work faster, harder, and more diligently to eradicate that pain. It boosts the immune system as well. This is a huge thing, a big topic of discussion these days with the viral thing going on, and the ones most susceptible seem to be those with compromised immune systems. So again, by bringing oxygen into every cell in our body, including these white blood cells and the cells that comprise our immune system, it turbocharges and kickstarts the immune system to work better and more effectively. So one of the best things we could do for ourselves in this time of COVID virus and all that is to practice some good conscious breathing techniques that are going to energize the system, oxygenate the system, and bring us up to full capacity of wellness. Hello, Regine Jacobs out there. Give me a wave. All right, so this is number one. Benefit number two, all right, is defense against anaerobic disease. All right, so these first two are on the physical level here. So the first is really that we're oxygenating the body through conscious breathing, and that's bringing us more energy. The second is really about detoxing. Okay, defense against anaerobic disease. Who knows what I mean by anaerobic disease? The word anaerobic basically means without oxygen, and without aerobic is oxygenate. So when you're doing aerobics back in the 80s and all that, it was because it was, it was a technique to circulate oxygen. So anaerobic diseases. Who knows what the number one anaerobic disease is? Cancer. All right. So these diseases, anaerobic basically means without oxygen. So these diseases thrive when oxygen is not present. And you say, well, I breathe. Why? How come oxygen is not present? Well, the sad fact is that most of us breathe about 20% of our capacity, right? Which means you're leaving 80% potential energy on the table. As well, you're compromising your body's ability to have 80% more oxygen, which means that it can defend against these anaerobic diseases that much better. Okay, so breath is if you didn't know this is an interesting fact, our number one detoxification system is actually our respiration system. All right, we detox by our elimination system, using the bathroom. We detox through our pores, we sweat, and we release toxins that way. But about 80% of the toxins that we release each day come through our respiratory system. So what we're exhaling is toxic stuff that doesn't belong in the body. Now think about this. If we breathe at 20% of our capacity, it's like the garbage men coming by and picking up only 1/5 of your garbage. So they leave 4/5 of your garbage there. 80% of your garbage gets left behind. And what's going to happen if that continues to happen? Well, the garbage is going to fester. It's going to invite in rodents, invite in insects and flies and all that. Starts to putrefy, disease, and all this. So this is what's happening in our body. If we're breathing at 20% of our capacity, and often even less, we're not detoxifying. We're not eliminating the amount of toxins that we need to keep the system clean. The garbage is building up, and that garbage is what then starts to tax the system, tax the immune system, and then we start to succumb to disease and other kinds of issues. And if that continues to go on, it can result in bodily death. So breath, by breathing, deep diaphragmatic breathing, we can learn to detox, clear, get a clean system so it's resilient. It doesn't have to fight unnecessarily against things that that don't belong in this physical system. To support this, a scientist, a medical doctor named Dr. West did a study in 1991 and found that deep diaphragmatic breathing actually increased the amount of lymph moving through the body by a factor of 15 times. Now, the lymph system, there's two circulatory systems in our body. One is the blood system. The blood system has a pump. It's the heart, right? The heart pumps, and that moves the blood through the body. The lymph system was thought in the past to not have any kind of pump. It was thought that by movement, by moving your body, you move the lymph along, and then it moves. And the lymph system basically is our garbage system, for those who don't know. The toxins that get processed through the liver and kidneys go to the lymph, and then they get, or they go to the lymph and get processed through the kidneys and liver, and then expelled from the body. Well, what Dr. West found was that actually the diaphragm, this dome-shaped muscle that we breathe with, when it's actively used, it acts like the pump. There's actually about 60% of the lymph nodes that are responsible for getting this garbage out of us reside around the organs. And by deep diaphragmatic breathing, you're massaging those lymph nodes and moving that lymph along. So again, benefit number one, bringing oxygen in energizes us. Benefit number two, are by effectively using our respiratory system, we detox effectively, and we eliminate or dramatically reduce and potentially eliminate our exposure to disease and especially those anaerobic diseases like cancer. And let's just check in some comments. Denny says, the sessions with you were absolutely super surprising in how deep the breath digs to release truly those traumas locked in the receptors. As someone who's leading others in release of negative emotions through NLP and TLT, I can attest that the breath work is like an iRobot cleanse going down in the deepest leftovers, and it feels like it's being blown out of our bodies. I did not expect that and had a major breakthrough. Well, thank you, Denny, and yeah, it is powerful, and that's why we're talking about it. Not only is it powerful, but it's inherently yours, and this is really why we're talking about it. You have this power to improve your life dramatically, resides deep within you, as I said in the beginning, right beneath your noses. And so let's learn how to use it. And Debbie is saying, yes, me as well. Very powerful. Excellent. Excellent. All right, so we've gone to two benefits. The third benefit, emotional balancing. So the first two were in the physical realm. This third benefit is really in the emotional realm. And this benefit takes up one, we take up one benefit with emotions, but this could be a topic for, a whole Facebook Live or a whole book, really. This emotions and our breath have an intimate link, all right? And in fact, every emotion that we have has a corresponding breath pattern, and it's pretty fascinating to see that you can actually tell, get a good sense of what people are feeling by just watching how they're breathing. But the idea here is that when we have an emotional experience, in the moment we have that experience, we have a choice to either express the emotion and let it out and let it come out, or we hold it in. We say, it's not appropriate to feel this way, or I've been taught that I shouldn't express this, or I'm not sure how I'll be perceived if this happens. I'm just going to keep that energy in. I don't want to feel this energy. So we stuff it down. The problem here is that, as Sigmund Freud once said, the great psychotherapist, unexpressed emotions never die. They just reemerge in darker and uglier ways. So the energy is actually stored. We pretend like it's no longer with us because we've stuffed it back in the closet, but the energy continues to build like a pressure in a pressure cooker that that has a faulty pressure release valve. The pressure continues to build. And in fact, there's a biological equation here going on, and this has come to light in, if those of you who have been to the Gregg Braden events and done breath work there, knows Gregg does a piece on the biology of emotional release. And basically what's happening is when we have an emotion, neuropeptides, these little things, how can we say, particles of, essentially, it's a physical particle, floats in your body that stimulates that emotion. These neuropeptides are released. If we express our emotion, we just get it out, they flush, they go. If we hold on to the emotion, these neuropeptides don't get flushed, they continue to circulate in the body, and they have to find a place to land. They end up connecting to the cell walls of different cells. So, and there they stay until we find some way to release them. What's happening here is those neuropeptides continue to stimulate that emotion. So when they brush up against a nerve or something there, we are still in this emotion. So one of the things that was found in this is that deep diaphragmatic breathing, again, conscious breathing techniques, were one of the most effective ways for helping us release and let go of these neuropeptides. So this is the biological mechanism that's happening when we're holding on to an emotion, and why, as long as we haven't fully expressed and integrated that emotion, it's going to keep agitating us because those neuropeptides are still there and they're still stimulating neurons to fire to re-experience these emotions. Okay, so and hello, Rebecca Romero, name from the past there at San Diego. You still there? All right. So, as we're saying, conscious breathing is an effective way to help us rid ourselves of these neuropeptides. What's happening on an emotional level then is these emotions, all these stored traumas start to get agitated and come to the surface. It's like we muddy up the water from the sediment that's at the bottom. We're pretending that the water is not dirty because the sediment has settled. Now we stir it up and we see that the water's dirty. We have this emotional catharsis, and we can cleanse the water, purge it of the dirt, so to speak. So the dirt being these stored emotions, and the water being our emotional states here. One of the valuable side benefits of balancing our emotions is that we start to develop a new relationship to our emotional states, meaning that we start to welcome all of the emotions that happen in our system. I use the analogy that all of our emotions are like letters in the mail, right? And some letters you like, a letter from your friend or a lover or what, and you're like, this brings me joy, or this brings me feelings of love or peace, whatever. And then there's mail that you don't enjoy, like bills and mortgage payments and things like that. They show up. Well, imagine that if you get a piece of mail, that's a bill, a piece of mail you don't like, and so you don't open it. And unfortunately, that was your electricity bill. You decide you just don't want to deal with it because you don't like it. Well, then 2 weeks or a month later, all of a sudden your electricity goes off. So the analogy here is each emotion that we have is bringing us important information. So an emotion like sadness or anger or fear might be like the bill that's in the mail. It's an emotion that we don't really want to feel, but if we keep it at bay, if we don't allow ourselves to feel it, we're not receiving an important message that those emotions have for us. And it's important for us to recognize that that the emotions we have are a very intelligent navigation system, even more intelligent than our intelligence, our IQ, our brain intelligence. So, by choosing to not experience some emotions and hoard other emotions, we're actually throwing off the system and not allowing it to serve us properly. So we learn to accept all emotions in, and even those ones that we didn't like, now at least we're more neutral to them, and we recognize the value in them. And usually by accepting those emotions, understanding the message, we often move through those emotions a lot quicker. So recognize that our emotions are valuable, every single one of them, not just happiness, peace, love, and those kind of things, but the sadness, the fear, the anger, all of these are valuable when we take them in this context. All right, so that's number 3, emotional balancing. Benefit number 4. The fourth benefit to breathwork takes us into the spiritual realms, I'd say. And first, a crossover from emotion and into the spirit is enhanced creativity and intuition. All right, as I was saying, our emotions come up, and they help us to understand life even more at a more granular level than our intellect. And this is really intuition. All right, so let me dial back a little bit here and explain this. There's an Eastern philosophy that we are made up of what's called prana. Prana is a Sanskrit word meaning life force energy. Okay, life force energy is from the ancient Eastern traditions the fundamental unit of intelligent, activating energy that enlivens our being, that brings us to life, that makes us thinking, feeling, active beings, able to cognize the world, to move through it, to evolve. All right, hey, some people are. Anybody else saying stuff? All right, no. So this life force energy is really what we're distilling from everything that we consume in order to activate our lives. So the food we eat, yes, that's broken down into proteins and fats and vitamins and minerals and all that. But deeper than that, those are all just forms, physically manifested forms of this life force energy. At the root, all of these are life force. The fluids that we drink, the same thing. And the air that we breathe, the oxygen. Remember, oxygen was our number one energy source. We need it, a lot of it, and we need it frequently. That's because it is the most abundant carrier of prana. It seems like oxygen has prana in the most abundance, and it's the easiest to distill. So with food, you got to go through a lengthy digestion process to extract the elements that turn into prana, essentially. With breathing, the oxygen, the prana is easily assimilated. All right, so this prana, then, as we bring more of it into our body, again, through conscious breathing, full, free, flowing breathing, we're learning to breathe more than 20% of our capacity. Now we're breathing 30, 40, 50, up to 70, 80% of our capacity, approaching 100 ideally. This starts to create more or less like an electromagnetic vortex, that the intelligence of this prana is the intelligence of the universe itself. It's the intelligence of the creator, of the source of this energy. And that is our core intelligence. That is the intelligence that has, again, brought us to understand and be able to cognize the world. So when we start aligning with this intelligence, our intuitive faculties start to expand. We just start to know things. Or if you've been wrestling with problems or things, choices in your life, all of a sudden the solution becomes apparent, or the right choice can be made. The creativity starts to fire on all cylinders. Imagine that this is this prana, this life force energy, is the energy of creation itself, right? It is the particles which manifest into creation. So it is the essence of creativity. We bring more of that into our being. All of a sudden, we start feeling more creative, and this is great if you engage in any creative endeavors like music, or there we got the guitar behind us, art, dance, whatever, or just creative problem solving. If you're a businessman and looking to how to make solutions to challenges, your creativity can be greatly enhanced with breathwork. Okay, so and then number 5, the fifth and final benefit of breathwork, which is fully in the spirit realm, is basically a sense of deep spiritual connectedness. Okay, so we're talking about this the life force energy, the prana, and by activating this energy, you are, and bringing more of it into your physical field, you're bringing more of the energy of creation into you and your connection to it. So you're going to feel, often feel, there, I guess, based on the reports of hundreds of people who have gone through this, thousands of people who have gone through the process, a sense of connectedness, a connectedness to yourself, where you may have felt disjointed, disconnected, a connection to others around you. Oftentimes there's actually a tangible sense of that we are all one, and you can feel the energy. And I'll do in the future a Facebook Live on fantastical breathwork stories, and I have one that was very fantastical, feeling a connection with a breather right next to me, and how tangible that connection really was and felt by both of us. And ultimately a connection to the source of it all. Once again, we're bringing this intelligent life force energy into it, the energy of the source itself, and so we start to feel our relationship to that source, essentially that we are a holographic image of that source. And what this really does is it brings to a visceral level, that you really feel at a visceral level, a sense of purpose and meaning to life. When you're connected with the source, you're kind of connected with the reason for being. Whether you can comprehend it mentally or not, it's just a feeling of being, and that's probably the best way that I can express it. And many of you who have experienced the breath work can probably attest to that. So this is really vital in these times, because what it does for you is gives you a sense of relaxed well-being, right? A knowing, despite the turbulence of topsy-turvy times, that there's a guiding, protecting energy that's with you always. It's not only with you, that is you, and that you're not just thinking about it or wishing for it. You're actually feeling it. You're actually experiencing it, and there's a knowing that everything's going to be okay despite the crash of breaking worlds, as Yogananda back here used to say. Stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. You can get that unshaken state by practicing breath work and really realizing who you are as a soul, as connection to that divine source. All right, and of course there's all sorts of what I call bells and whistles that go with it. You can often get interesting visuals, downloads of information, downloads of creative endeavors. So a lot is available to you as you practice this breath work. Lets me just go in. I was seeing a question that relates to this. This Christian son, hello, good to see you on, man. What do you know around the lungs creating DMT, also in the cerebrospinal fluid? So this is an interesting thing, and it coincides with the spiritual realm, and it coincides with the endeavors of Rhythmia Life Advancement Center that works with plant medicine. DMT is the active ingredient in plant medicine. Okay, so to answer this question for people, DMT is an active ingredient in plant medicine. It is the thing that activates our consciousness to give us the fantastical experiences, dreamlike experiences, visions, understandings. All right, and then but DMT is a natural element, consciously it's created in our brain. It is the chemical that comes forward when we dream or when we have great epiphanies or realizations. And so the question is, there was some mention, and I think it was in. I've tried to find this because people have said that breath work, by this accelerated breathing, the lungs can produce DMT, and that is then, stands to reason if they do produce this, why we get some of these epiphanies, or why we get some of the visions or the downloads that we do, because we're activating that DMT that is naturally present when these things occur. I saw a quick mention of it in this film called DMT, the Spirit Molecule, but I haven't been able to locate any other source that says anything about the lungs creating DMT. So that's the best I know about it, Christian. And if you find anything, let me know. Debbie Ballard, bliss. Yes, bliss is the ultimate state that I think when we're doing this breath work, people just come out and say, the number one expression that happens after breath work, I would actually put money on it. Vegas would put money on it. When anybody has come out of a breath session, and then I said, so how do you feel? They go, wow. Wow is the number one word that comes out of somebody's mouth after they've experienced a breath session, because they're just so not used to experiencing that, something that we've done all of our lives. In fact, every moment of our life could, when harnessed to particular techniques and styles of conscious breathing techniques, can produce such an amazing, life-transforming experience. So much love, brothers. Regine Jacobs said, that happened to me too. The emotions weren't mine. They belonged to the person beside me. Yeah, so she's talking about when we're talking about the connection to other people with breathwork. Petra is saying that breathwork is breaking old patterns. Absolutely great. And Petra was with Gregg Braden and me in Switzerland this last October. So Tammy's saying, I can definitely attest to that. I felt my superpower in my first session. Yeah, excellent. Valid. Yes, so people are testing here. So if you don't believe me, and Alan Lindau, one of my ex-monk compatriots, says, yes, crashing worlds. The Yogananda quote, stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. Stand unshaken amidst the crash of breaking worlds. A high ideal, definitely. How do we do it? Work with the breath, the God-given tool, right underneath your noses, right? All the power of the universe lies right underneath your nose, and that's with the breath. It doesn't have to be complex. Have you heard, I forget what it's called, but scientific principle that's saying, all things considered, the most simple solution is most likely the correct one. And so we don't have to go working crazy techniques or finding external machines or things like that to help us get in tune with ourselves. We just have to get back to basics. And the very most basic thing of human existence is our breath. All right. So Debbie is saying, how do you explain deja vus? Well, this is a little perhaps off of the topic of breath work, but in a sense, you may get a deja vu with breath work. I was just watching a film called What is Reality, or Reality Explained, or something like that. And basically, the best explanation for deja vu is that all time is happening at once all the time. So the past and the future, it's not just linear. Like the past only influences the present, which can influence the future. The future can be influencing the past or the present, or any which direction. And so I believe deja vu is a glimpse into an expanded sense of consciousness, that where we can perceive things out of the linear approach that the mind takes. Let's face it, 99.9% of the time we are driven by the mind. We're observing the world. The mind is informed by the senses. And so the world of the senses has a very specific movement. It's linear, it's progressive, it's past to future. Well, when we expand out of the mind, and this is again getting into our intuitive sensibilities, getting closer to the consciousness of the source itself, rather than the limited consciousness of us as an individual, when we start to expand into that consciousness, we have these glimpses of what we call deja vus, things that have happened before or are yet to happen, and we see them, and then later on they come into being, because all time, all space is one, and as one, it's happening together all the time. Again, a concept our mind can't grasp, and so I recommend, if it's too perplexing for you, actually go into a breath session where it will let the mind relax. It's another benefit, by the way, that a lot of people report. People who have very active monkey minds are like, my mind never shuts up. And then they go into a breath session and they say, for the first time in my life, I actually experienced my mind was quiet. I was just here. I was just observing. I was just enjoying, and the mind was silent. If you have that kind of overactive mind, I definitely recommend breath work. So, I am a facilitator of this breath work. I basically, am a spirit-based coach and a breath work trainer. When we were doing things where we could actually touch each other and things like that, I held seminars and workshops and weekend programs all over the country and world, and hope that that's going to come up again. Like we said, the next live event that I've got with Gregg Braden is happening in March of next year, so that will be a live experience of breathwork, barring that the world doesn't go down the tubes, which I'm pretty confident it's not going to. But now we do it virtually, and virtual private breathwork sessions, I'd say, are very powerful. If you're interested in that kind of thing, just contact me, Christian@breathflow.com, Christian, my name, @breathflow.com, which is my website, or just go to my website, breathflow.com, and type in the contact form there and inquire about that. We've got CDs and things that you can use to take yourself on a breath journey. We'll get the live group virtual sessions going here soon, but until then, I recommend the private sessions. So to wrap up real quick, just to say, what if you practiced this breath work every day? What would your life be like? How much more energy, how much more vitality, will your freedom from your emotional upheavals, how much more creative zest for life would you experience? And ultimately, how much more well-being would you experience? That that comes from really being plugged in to the very source of your being. And knowingness, a calmness, assuredness that life is working in your favor despite what the senses are perceiving as tumultuous times. My goal was really to help you make every breath you take be that kind of fantastic transformational experience. But it starts by first working with conscious breathing techniques. So with that, say namaste for the information this week. Tune in next week when we go deeper.